Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another build of Build Mess, and this is build number 17 of 50 at this point. And this right here is the high-grade Transient Gundam. And this, of course, is from Gundam Build Fighters Try, to be precise. And you might be wondering, didn't you review that kit before? And the answer is I did. I actually reviewed this kit back in 2015 when this would have came out when I was living in Japan. But the sad thing is, a lot of the high-grade kits that I did build in Japan, I had to make the hard decision of not bringing them with me when I was coming back here to Ireland. So this is one of those kits I do miss. It's such a cool design. There's a lot of the high-grade Build Fighters designs that were over-the-top cool. Some of them were okay. Some of them are outright crazy, but this one is just a really nice take on a Gundam 00 suit. It's clad in pristine white. We do have some nice blue effect parts inside of the box with it, and again, like I mentioned, it's a kit I miss, and one I do want to get built and back into the collection again. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without those fantastic people over at Bai, link in the description. Okay, so busting the box open. This is a relatively small high-grade box. What we get in here is 1, 2, 3, and let's say half bags of runners, as well as the manual. Again, this is pre-2016, just barely, so it's not translated. So yeah, the manual right here may not be translated. Looks pretty nice. It's the old Build Fighters style. You can find all the information you want in English over on the Gunpla wiki. They always have it on there. And overall, it's just your kind of standard high-grade Gundam build. So it says it is based on the high-grade EXIA right there. And there's some information about pretty much everything we're going to be seeing once this is built. Speaking of which, these are some skinny little runner bags, by the way. So there are only 7 runners in this kit right here, and it's just split up into 4 main colors. That's pure white, clear blue, gray for the joints, and a darker blue that is not clear with a little bit of a purplish hue to it. On top of them, we've got your standard kind of Revive era polycaps, a runnerless stand also in clear blue, and the stickers which are predominantly for the eyes and the inside of the GN condensers. So as usual, starting down at the legs, and this is a bit of a post-Revive style kit, aka it does have this standard kind of Revive build. We've got a polycap up here for the upper leg. This right here is just a flap. We've got an actual plastic joint down here for the ankle, and then you just attach pieces together, and the lower leg, upper leg, and foot are all built separately, don't kind of intertwine into each other in any kind of way. Now, just in case you're not familiar with the Gundam Build Fighters kits, like we saw at the beginning, this is based on the EXIA, and a lot of Build Fighters kits will use the actual base kit as a base, and a lot of the runners in the box will be older kits, and they kind of turn out like a bit of a kind of Frankenstein hybrid with a bit like of some old school issues. This, however, the Transient Gundam is built from the ground up just to be the Transient Gundam. There's no high-grade EXIA in this whatsoever, and it's all the better for it. This right here is the knee unit. Inside there is the center of one of the GN capacitors, aka one of those big old bright domes. Now this does have actual detail inside of it, so you could just chrome that up, but these included stickers work absolutely fine for doing just that. You do lose the actual molded detail, but you do have some drawn detail or printed detail in there that pretty much gets the job done. Then you just pop this on top, and you got a nice shiny capacitor. Armor then builds up on the upper part of the leg. Usual Revive era polycap here for the hip joint, so that does mean kit bashable with other kits with the exact same joint. Quite the unusual design to the feet here, so it actually attaches parts on with these little simple peg style hinges, just like that, so toe and the heel. These then get locked in by the toe and the heel armor, and that is very, very strangely effective. Works well. Finally, then you just pop it all together like that, and then the knee. And then that right there is what the leg looks like completed. Again, color-wise, this is very, very simple. If you do like a very clean, nice mobile suit all in one color with a little bit of highlighting, or should I say low lighting in this scenario, this is a nice choice. Moving now up to the waist, when it comes to the hip joints, these are those simple pivoting up and down type. Lock in like so. Front skirts come attached on the runner, but you can split them. This then pops onto the front, and that's a super simple design. Side skirts are those classic hinges. They just pop in like that, so they can move up and down. Not too much up. Oh no, they slide up nicely. Can move back out of the way. And then just popping the legs on is as simple as that and that. So an incredibly simple model kit designed right here. Next up, moving on to the torso, and this is very simple as well. It's just 9 parts, including, or should I say not including, the polycaps. The polycap shoulders are those Revive era cups, which basically would make all those kits back then compatible with each other, so you can just pop off the arms and throw them on whatever kit you want. But it's not that simple really anymore. We've got another silver sticker for popping in here for behind one of the condensers. Pop in the clear blue part. You build up these shoulder joint sections out of 2 pieces. They pop into the ball joints, extending the ball joints out to being pegs. You build the waist, it's just a polycap and 1 piece, pops in like so, and you just top it all off with that big, transient clavicle armor. Simple, but effective. Again, this might be one of the simplest high grades around. It builds up out of next to no parts, and it goes together easy. Moving on to the arms now, and this is what we get once complete. Again, super simple assembly for some really nice payoff. Again, there's not much to this build at all, but what the kit looks like when done is just, well, astoundingly nice. So the shoulder's just a polycap into a segment like so. Looks like that one sandwiched up. Continuing on with this simple build, the shoulder armor is just 2 pieces. That of course does mean there is a seam running up this little segment, which won't be really all that noticeable from the front, but you know, if you want to close that up, might take a little bit of time. That right there is the inside of the double jointed elbow joint, just closes up. Again, simple. The forearm armor is just 2 pieces, clamps on either side. You will be getting a bit of a seam in the front. It's not so bad. In the back, it's a little bit more noticeable right here, but lined up with the armor. Another sticker and clear piece sandwich, and then it's upper bicep armor, shoulder armor, and finally the hand for completion. With the arms complete, they just pop on like this, so peg and peg, and there it is, slowly come together. And again, such a nice looking mobile suit for something that is so simple to put together. Just in case I forget to mention it later on, this does have the standard attachment to peg backpack hole. Jumping around to the backpack, and we're building some extremely Build Fighters parts right here, because Build Fighters kits aren't Build Fighters kits unless they've tons and tons of clear parts, especially the various 00 inspired Build Fighters designs. We've got one more blade to attach onto the back here, so it attaches onto a piece like this, a little bit of a hinge up top, and then these attach into this G and drive style segment. Again, it's all in white, so if you do want to make this look a little less detail-less, I guess, just give it a little quick pan line. Should take out all of those details so you can see them a little properly. Under this line, they're a little difficult to make out, but there is some nice pan lines in there. So that right there is what the backpack looks like once complete. Again, 2 peg adapter segment on this, so if you grab the transient, it just pops right on like so and lines up the armor spectacularly. So starting off with the head, and this part here is made of 2 parts slapped together. Then we've got 2 stickers in here with some shiny condensers on top and a sticker up top. The front of the face part attaches on into this, and I will mention those eye stickers right there. Those are individual from each other, and I actually found them easier to attach than a regular old double eye sticker, so that's cool. Piece of armor up top, finished off with a huge face plate on the front, which brings it all together, and that right there is the Transient Gundam's face finished. Then you just pop on the head just like that, and that might be one of the most simple and effective Gundam kits around, with some absolutely stupendous payoff. So finally now, there is the kit complete and jumping on into the aesthetics, and all I can say is, for what is such a tiny, really quick little build, this is a very nice complete kit. So like I mentioned already, this is a kit that I did build before, and it is a kit that I did miss, just because there's very little put into the actual build on it, but the payoff is huge. It's simple, quick to build, and the resulting model kit is very nice, again depending on what you want out of a model kit yourself. This is predominantly in a nice perfect shade of white. We've got some nice blues to offset that, and of course the grey of the inner frame segments. Now if you don't like the colour, there is the Transient Gundam Glacier available as well. It's pretty much the exact same kit with a bit of a colour swap. But this one right here just looks so clean, so Gundam, so cool. So zooming in a little bit to take a look at the details in a little bit closer, and in the actual lore of Gundam Build Fighters, this is based on the high-grade Gundam EXIA, but there is 0 high-grade Gundam EXIA in this kit. Overall, the build is definitely all the better for it, because you've got a super simple, easy to build kit, which is phenomenal out of box, which isn't necessarily the case for the EXIA high grade. Overall, the design of the head is quite nice. From the sides it looks great, but from dead on the eyes can look a little funny. Now I've tried realigning the eyes a little bit because they are put on individually, but this is exactly where they're meant to lie. They are a little bit on the far apart side, but overall still quite nice. Moving down now to the torso now, and the body, pretty much like the head itself, the design is almost like ice fractals to some degree, and that is very nicely centered with that silvered blue section in the center, catching that light perfectly. That G and drive in ice blue, looking phenomenal. Like we saw during the build, the shoulders here are just 2 parts not including the joint inside of them, which is very easy to build. It looks nice from the front and back, but does mean there are some hollow parts throughout the inside in this that don't look that great out of box. You might want to either paint them in grey or some to kind of disguise them, or cover them over entirely with a bit of plat plate. It does look a little bit on the rough side. It's kind of funny that this version is just called the Transient Gundam and the other version's called the Glacier, when this one is a lot more glacial, like we can see with the backpack here. The shade of blue, the overall kind of ice fractal feel about the various different clear parts. This kit overall does summon up a little bit more of a glacier kind of feel than the Glacier itself, which is kind of funny. When it comes to surface detailing on a lot of parts, like the front skirtings right here, you don't really see too much to it. It is a simple design with nice, flat, smooth surfaces. This is a kit that definitely does seem to benefit more from the kind of multifaceted shape to the various surfaces catching the light, as opposed to individual details on the panels. The design of the arms on this is nice. It's got some very kind of geometric forearms, and again we do have those kind of GN condensers in a nice icy blue here. And one thing that I think is really cool with this kit is the actual inclusion of actual fist hands, not just holding hands. There's fists included inside the box, a rarity, and they look good. The legs in here carry on the exact same tradition we've seen throughout the mobile suit so far. That is very little detail, lots of nice geometric surfaces, and a big old GN condenser in the middle catching all of the light. The feet in here also continue on a bit of a tradition with this kit, and that is simple design, simple build, and a lot of payoff. They look good and they compose nicely too. I will also mention that the inside of the chest area around the GN drive is meant to be in a silver. It says to just paint this with a Gundam marker in the manual. It literally does say to do that, but yeah, it is missing that bit of color, which is predominant and in the front, so not a great move. So jumping on into the size comparison, there it is side by side with two standard size high grades, being the Revive RX-78-2 on the left and the Revive Mark II on the right. So as you can see, the Transient Gundam is a little taller than your average Gundam. Next to the high grade Gundam EXIA, which its design is based on, and a couple of random kits including the high grade Barbatos, high grade G-Quacks, high grade Freedom, and the high grade Burning Gundam. When it comes to the accessories, here's everything that comes with the high-grade Transient Gundam, and what we get in here is the two GN Partisan weapons, which are oh so awesome. We've got 3 alternate hands, which is pretty cool. There's a widespread in there because we do have actual fists in here too, so actual fists and a widespread is a rare combination. 2 hands for holding on to the partisans, and we do have a runnerless stand in here in that same shade of the GN Transient Blue. So first up in here we do have a stand included because the Transient isn't really a Gundam for standing on the ground. The feet don't really move around too much when it comes to ground poses, so it is nice to have one included. This is decent enough to get your mobile suit in the air for display, but I find it can be a bit limiting if you wanted to lean forward or back or anything like that when it comes to poses. That's why I personally always recommend Good Smile Company's Simple Stand every single time, because you can pop it in there and constantly move your Gundam around to wherever you want it all of the time. It's just handy, low profile, and does the job nicely. So when it does come to the hands in here, like I mentioned, we do have a pair of actually molded fists, which is very, very rare, and they look really, really nice. The only kind of downside to it is more than likely you're going to be using the cool partisans that come in here. So, you know, fists like this, including a kit, you'd, hope the kit won't be holding on to too much, but it is a really nice option. And speaking of options, we do have some. So popping out the hands, the usual ball joint off and on swapping like so. And we do have a nice widespread hand also included. Unlike the fists, we don't have 2 of these, just the one, so that is very, very nice. Again, sculpted nicely. Build Fighters kits did really bring on a nice load of brand new nice hands. The next pair of hands are for holding onto the GN Partisans. This is what they look like, and still to this day, one of my favorite Gundam weapons. They're just such a cool idea. We've got a big gnarly spear on one end and a smaller little spear on the other. These separate into 2 weapons so they can be used as small, basically like GN swords, which is pretty cool. They pop together ever so simply, and this end has some nice mechanisms running through it, and you can see them through the clear parts. That is almost like a big old crab claw. They open up just like so. So we've got a pointy bit in the middle, and they can kind of close in on themselves like so to basically become a big, massive GN anchor, or for like just cutting and grabbing. It's a really nice, unique weapon, and we do have 2 of these included. Hand attachment is the usual way, just pop off the back just like so, pops into the hand just like that. Hand Back of the hand, pops on, locking it on nice and tight, and that right there is what the Transient Gundam looks like with both of those GN partisans attached. And one thing I have to say is really cool about this particular design is the fact that we've got extended angles on the holding hands, so they can be held at angles like these right here where they're extended downwards, so they're not just held at a right angle like you would have with standard holding hands. That does look incredibly cool. Now, I have oftentimes found that even when some kits have not so great articulation like this kit right here, very nicely designed equipment can really nicely offset that, like what we're seeing. Sure, this kit can't move around too much, but those big old weapons kind of being thrown about in its hands make it look like it's doing a whole lot more than it is actually doing, especially because they did include those extended angle hands. Of course, you can pop these out as well, so you can use them as shorter weapons, but because it is Build Miss right now, and I'm just trying to get through building some kits, I'm not going to be taking a direct look at that today. It might be in the older review. I'll pop it up right now in case it is. Well, maybe I'll throw something in at the end when I'm doing some poses. So now jumping on into the articulation and the usual comment on the build. This is quite a solid kit. I've always remembered it being really great. Just one I'd reach for just for a little bit of posing, and it doesn't give any kind of issues. Even though it does have some polycaps in its build, it's super lightweight, so they really do their job perfectly. Anyway, usual pose time. And there we go, that is the best I can get out of it. So this has a lot of issues that kind of make it not really work too well on the ground. For example, the toes don't move up at all. This is definitely an airborne, 100% of the time mobile suit. And just other things like these shoulders don't allow the arms to move up any further. The pivot on the feet isn't great. Like the feet do this, so it can be like basically flying in air all of the time. Actually, let's get a little bit of a stand into the equation. By the way, there is an included stand in here. I just don't usually use it so often because you can't really direct it towards the camera the way that you want. But once you get the transient into the air, as you can see, it works a little bit better. Not a whole lot better. It's about average for an older high grade when it comes to the articulation. But yeah, overall, it is a little bit on the sad side that such a dynamic looking Gundam can be so limited when it comes to the actual articulation. I tried a few poses out of it, and they are very, very limited. All the joints, range of motion, all very, very not great. You're not going to get a whole lot out of it besides a couple of basic poses, and that's about it. Sad, because it looks so over the top cool. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade Transient Gundam, and this right here is X Silver Tier. A little bit lower than I actually thought it would have gotten. I have fond memories of this kit, and even playing around with it right now, it's really, really nice, but when it does come to high grades, especially versus modern high grades, it does lose out in some aspects. Aesthetics are the strongest aspect of this kit right here. Pure white with that nice crystal glacial blue looks phenomenal, but when you get in real close, it doesn't do anything really fancy. We've got no layered parts, there are some hollow bare parts here and there, and it is missing a huge bit of silver in the chest right in the front. This may not matter to you if you just like the white Gundam as it is, but it just isn't line art accurate. Overall, it's okay, and it got a kind of extra points for just the cool factor overall. When it comes to the articulation on this kit, this is below average, definitely. A lot of the joints here just don't do too much, especially the feet and the shoulders and the torso. When it comes to the hip joints, they also get blocked a little bit by this skirting armor, so overall it's not the greatest posing experience, and when you're trying to get it into some cool poses with its cool equipment, well, it can be a little bit flaccid and disappointing. Accessories wise, the accessories in here are very, very nice. You've got everything you could ever really want. You've got a stand to pop it on, you've got a multitude of hands including the lesser spotted actual fists, and you've got extended angle holding hands that make those GN partisans look even better when held in the hand. The GN partisans themselves are really cool with some nice moving parts, overall very nice. However, I will mention there are missing beam sabers in here. There's meant to be flat 00 style blue beam sabers that attach into the backs of its forearms because there are beam emitters in its forearms that aren't included. That's not great. Finally, then when it does come to the build, this is a simple build. I was blown away. There's not that many parts in this at all. If you think about it, there's two ways to look at it. It's a short, simple build that doesn't really give you too much. That's negative. However, it's a super fast build that in the end what you get is way more than the sum of its parts. So depending on if you're looking for a simple build or an involved build, it will depend on how much you like this. I just feel it is a little bit flat versus some high-grade builds that are out there. But anyway, that right there is it for the review. As always, thank you so much for watching. Got mine here from Buy. If you want one of your own, link is down there in the description. And as always, I will see you next time. Tomorrow, to be exact. As always, this video right here and every single video I make would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches this video. And special thanks at the end of this video right here to those who support on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Caleb Engelhart, Joe, OG59061, Scotty Thomas, and Simon.